Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I am Bukola Koka. Our top stories. Drama erupts at the Red Chamber as Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Adams Oshiomhole clash over newly amended Senate leadership rules. Federal government demands thorough investigation into the death of Nigerians seen in recent xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Court convicts former Power Minister Salim Aman over 33.8 billion naira fraud and other money laundering charges. And from the foreign scene, U.S. President Donald Trump brokers fresh 3-day ceasefire as Russia and Ukraine trade words over truce violations. And that's News Round in View. And the week began with concerns around a new wave of anti-immigrant protests witnessed in South Africa and subsequent demands by the federal government for a thorough investigation and full autopsy reports on Nigerians killed in the recent wave of xenophobic attacks in that country. Spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Kimiebi Ebiefa, disclosed this during a press briefing in Abuja on Monday, following diplomatic engagements between Nigeria and South Africa over the safety of Nigerians abroad.
Over several weeks in April 2026, a wave of xenophobic attacks began escalating in major cities across South Africa. Videos circulating online showed the brutal attacks leading to the death of 2 Nigerians. By early May, the situation had grown into organized anti-immigration protests, prompting diplomatic tensions and calls for repatriation. The attacks is reportedly not caused by a single factor, but stems from a mix of economic, social and political pressures. However, the attacks are not on Nigerians alone, as South Africa has accused other foreigners of being in the country illegally, taking jobs from locals and having links to crime, especially drug trafficking. Anti-immigrant groups connected with the recent attacks, like the Operation Dudula and its affiliates, have been stopping people outside hospitals and schools, demanding to see their identity papers, urging foreign-owned businesses to shut down due to the violence.
We have various evidence to show that in other countries, when you have issues like this, it's left for the law enforcement to do their job. It's left for the immigration officers to do their job. It's not left for individuals to go on the street and start, acting in a manner that can raise tension in the community. These people being targeted now, they are trying to survive. I mean, even though they are surviving, a contribution might be minimal. In the other sense, they are in one way or the other contributing to economic activity, regardless of, even if we don't want to recognize the significance.
Meanwhile, both Nigeria and South African governments have strongly condemned the attacks, reacting through diplomacy and policy statements. On Monday, May 4, the federal government summoned the acting High Commissioner to South Africa, Lesoli Machele, to a closed-door meeting to formally convey the government's concern regarding the attacks and the potential impact on the cordial relationship between the two countries.
Ongoing protests in some parts of South Africa.
Briefing the media after the closed-door meeting, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs disclosed that Nigeria is demanding a thorough investigation and full autopsy on Nigerians killed in the attacks and the signing of an MOU on early warning mechanism to prevent future violent attacks.
The government of Nigeria condemned the violence against Nigerians in South Africa, including the recent deaths of Nnaemeka Matthew Handry Ekpenyong and Kelvin Chidebere Amaramiro following alleged assaults by security personnel. The ministry notes that these incidents, alongside other reported cases, have heightened anxiety within the Nigerian community and require urgent, credible remedial action. We therefore request thorough and impartial investigation into both deaths, including prompt sharing of preliminary findings and regular updates with the government of Nigeria.
He also says the federal government is planning to repatriate Nigerians willing to return home voluntarily, stating that 130 applicants had already registered while the documentation process is ongoing.
130, I think, as of this morning have registered, but if the 130 that are registered are those that don't have the resources to get their flight tickets to move back to Nigeria, that means government have to go in. And for government to go in, definitely there must be the provision of funds, either to procure tickets for them or you get an aircraft that will convey them back to Nigeria.
As both nations continue to navigate yet another diplomatic strain, the true test is not in agreement signed or issued statements, but in concrete action that guarantees the safety, dignity and rights of Nigerians living in South Africa. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn, Channels Television News.
On Tuesday, the National Assembly resolved to constitute a joint ad hoc committee of the Senate and House of Representatives to address the rising cases of xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. The committee is expected to embark on a fact-finding and diplomatic mission to South Africa to seek lasting solutions to the crisis. As part of its mandate, the delegation will engage the South African Parliament to formally convey Nigeria's displeasure over the attacks.
The upper chamber reconvened in a charged plenary, thrusting the surge of xenophobic attacks in South Africa to the forefront of national concern after a lawmaker sounded the alarm in a motion.
The Senate also notes with deep concern that beyond the physical attacks lies a deepening atmosphere of fear, humiliation, psychological trauma, and dehumanization, wherein Nigerians are increasingly profiled, haunted, and treated as though being a Nigerian national alone constitutes an offense. For them to take Nigerians like animals is not acceptable. Mr. President, this is a situation where people are paying good with evil. This country contributed immensely to the end of apartheid regime in South Africa.
Our diplomacy should be citizen-centered, citizen-driven, and their interests should be jealously guarded and protected wherever they are.
We must revoke the license of FTN, revoke the license of DSTV as an indication of our seriousness. Those people who have died, their life is much more than foreign investment.
However, the prayers of Senator Oshomole is declined on procedural grounds.
Those in support that was not the motion before us say aye. Those against say nay. That was not the motion.
As the debate intensifies, a move by one lawmaker to step down the motion is immediately rejected.
I would rather suggest that in view of the seriousness of the matter, we step down discussion on this matter and allow the diplomacy to take its full course. I totally disagree with the submission canvassed by Senator Alero. At no time should we stop doing what you are elected to do here because the executive are doing it. If this thing continues, we have alternatives. We know where South Africans are, not only Nigeria, but all over Africa. And we can take this fight to their territory.
The upper chamber resolved to constitute a joint ad hoc committee of the Senate and House of Representatives led by the chairman of the National Assembly to address the concerns.
We are not going to touch any business of South Africa, and we won't touch the business of any country. We believe strongly that with diplomatic engagements, these issues will be resolved. But at the same time, we demand justice for those who have been killed. The leadership of the Senate will come up with a strong letter before our visit, condemning the current situation and informing them to call the situation to order.
Like the Senate, the House of Representatives is urging the federal government to take urgent steps to protect Nigerians living in South Africa following reports of xenophobic attacks.
Xenophobic violence
The House reached this resolution following a matter of urgent national importance.
Very much concerned, Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, that the killings came amid escalating xenophobic hostility, with viral videos showing threats, intimidation, and attempts by mobs to target foreign nationals, particularly Nigerians.
A minute's silence is then observed in honor of those brutally and innocently killed in South Africa.
Rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Meanwhile, the ADC has lost 2 seats in the Senate following a fresh defection of Senator Eyinaya Abaribe to the Labour Party and Senator Victor Ume to the NDC during plenary. They hinged their actions on leadership and litigation crisis rocking the ADC. The Senate Minority Whip, Senator Rufai Hanga, equally moved from the NNPP to the Nigeria Democratic Congress NDC. Similarly, in the House of Representatives, 17 lawmakers defected from the ADC to the NDC, while 1 defected from the ADC to the APC.
Earlier, President Bola Tinubu had written to the Senate seeking confirmation of the nomination of Joseph Olasukomi Tegbe as the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He also sought confirmation of other nominees, Ambassador Shola Eniko Olaoye as Minister of State, as well as Rabiu Abdullahi as CEO of the NMDPRA. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
On Wednesday, proceedings at the Senate were disrupted for over 15 minutes following a heated exchange between Senator Adams Oshiomhole and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. The disagreement began when the Senate President read out the votes and proceedings of the previous legislative session. During discussions on the amendment of the standing orders, Senator Oshiomhole then raised a point of order, but Senator Akpabio overruled him, citing provisions of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended, which do not permit such interventions at that stage of proceedings.
24 hours after lawmakers amended new standing rules in a closed-door session, the outcome of that discussion still reverberates. Among the revised rules is the amendment of the Senate Standing Orders, which restricts eligibility to contest for the office of the Senate President to ranking senators of not less than 8 years consecutively. The amendment further stipulates that at least one of the 2 terms must be the immediate term preceding the nomination, effectively narrowing the field of contenders. These amendments was the bone of contention, particularly for one aggrieved lawmaker who raised a point of order, apparently seeking to question the legality of the entire exercise in an outburst that was ignored.
Nothing in our rules allow us to proceedings that are not a reflection of what we are doing.
Point of order comes after the correction of the votes. You cannot raise point of order. And I've said it, people have been in these chambers for 3 years now. We should begin to know the rules of the Senate. I don't want to be accused of executive arrogance. That's why I keep tolerating these things. Please, there's no new senator any longer. There's no new senator any longer. Let us try our best to abide by the rules here. Am I right? So point of order, you are ruled out of order.
Distinguished Senator Adam Oshiomhole, I am now invoking powers conferred to the office of the Chief Whip to order you to resume your seat and be guided by the ruling of the presiding officer.
Despite repeated interventions, the lawmaker persisted on being heard, prompting a visibly displeased president to sound a final note of warning.
Senator Oshiomhole, for the last time, if you become unruly in the Senate, we will use these same rules to take you out of the Senate. So this is the last warning.
Calm was eventually restored
My highest regards.
after about 15 minutes of disruption of plenary.
In his new party.
Away from the altercation, the Senate relaxed its rules to admit the president's ministerial nominee, Mr. Tegbe Olasukomi, for screening.
I've acquired Masters in Business Administration from University of Birmingham.
Lawmakers poured out their grievances with the power sector.
As long as you continue to do it the way
we have been doing it in this country, we will never get it right. It's to swallow our pride. Call on one of the major successful advanced countries, preferably China. Give them this project of power in Nigeria. Run it for 20 years. Give us stable power, get your money back and move out.
But you're going to meet, first, the generator cabal. So, when you ramp up power and want to take over, you're dealing with the Agare, and they're going to come after you.
Distinguished senators, I will not stand here and say tomorrow I'll give you 24 hours elections. But what I will tell you, and I'll be very honest about it, is I will ensure that visible improvement is seen across the country in the shortest time possible. I will commit that we will replace uncertainty for Nigerians with clarity, inefficiency with discipline, and promises with measurable progress.
It was a more relaxed atmosphere during the turn of Ambassador Shola Enikonlaye.
We cannot be giant to Africa, and we are minions in the eyes of countries that we post ambassadors to.
Indeed, the missions are in a very deplorable state. Most of them arising for paucity of funds. So when you delay a month or 2 or 3, 4 months, it becomes a big issue.
The both nominees are subsequently confirmed as ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The appointment and nomination of Ambassador Onikonlaye is hereby confirmed as a minister of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Now, the Senate President had earlier explained that the screening for confirmation of the President Tinubu's ministerial nominees had to be done at the Committee of the Whole and not at the committee levels because the Senate will, in a matter of days, embark on recess ahead of the political parties' primary elections. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Following the clash on Wednesday, the Senate rescinded its earlier amendment to the standing orders concerning the inauguration of senators-elect and the election of presiding officers on Thursday. The decision followed a motion moved by the Senate leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, during plenary. He cited Section 52 of the 1999 Constitution, explaining that senators-elect are constitutionally permitted to participate in the election of presiding officers before taking their oaths.
Lawmakers in the upper chamber resumed plenary with the amendment of its standing orders topping the agenda, a matter that sparked a clash between two lawmakers on Wednesday. Reviving the subject, the Senate's leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, announced via a motion the rescission of an earlier decision on election of presiding officers.
It's on the need for rescission and committal of Order 2, Subsection 2, and Order 3.1 of the Senate Standing Orders 2023 as amended.
The reversed Order 3.1 had provided that a senator-elect shall not participate in any proceedings of the Senate, including voting for the election of the President and Deputy President of the Senate, unless and until he has taken the oath prescribed in the 7th schedule.
This is a very straightforward motion. It's just for us to go in conformity with the Constitution. So those in favor of this motion for rescission, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The development raised tension on the floor as one lawmaker raised a point of order.
The way we rush the rules, because certain people wanted certain things concluded, is what led to this error. That is just the point I want to make.
If His Excellency, distinguished Senator Adams Aliyu Oshiomhole, CON, had any problem with the decisions that were taken with respect to the amendment 2 days ago, what he was expected to do was to bring a substantive motion for rescission to be debated on the floor of this parliament.
Some lawmakers clarified their positions on the matter.
What is important before the Senate, articulate your position and make sure that you come with specific recommendations, and we look at it, whether it is not injurious to the Senate as an institution and to Nigeria.
Why changing it now? Because you think that next time, because last time, this rule of what term ranking, that's what you require. And it turned out to be the only one from the South, where it was zone 2. So now he feared that more senators will be eligible, which will broaden the competition base. And now he wants to struck it. If other people are afraid, I'm not afraid.
Back in the chamber, another amendment, this time of the Electoral Act, is passed by lawmakers to speed up the resolution of pre-election disputes. The new Section 29A of the Electoral Act, all pre-election matters involving National Assembly, State House of Assembly, governorship and deputy governorship elections will now begin at the Federal High Court, with appeals going to the Court of Appeal. For presidential and vice presidential election disputes, cases will originate at the Court of Appeal and terminate at the Supreme Court, in line with Section 285 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The Senate has also passed a 2.2 trillion naira FCT 2026 budget, although there were some observations.
Only with a proviso to the effect that next time, when such a top-notch budget is being presented, it should be accompanied with the revenue profile of the FCT to make it more transparent and accountable.
This bill, having been read a third time, has been passed.
Meanwhile, the Senate has also confirmed the appointment of the nomination of Mr. Rabiu Abdullahi Umar for the appointment as the Authority Chief Executive Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Now let's head to the courts, and Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja convicted former Minister of Power, Mr. Saleh Mamman, over allegations of money laundering involving 33.8 billion naira on Thursday. Delivering judgment, Justice Omotosho also issued a warrant for the arrest of the former minister who was absent from court. The judge ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to produce Mr. Mamman in court on the next adjourned date for sentencing. The matter was subsequently adjourned till May the 13th.
Social activist Mr. Omoyele Sowore and his legal team.
And now to other court stories. Justice Mohammed Garba Umar of the Federal High Court in Abuja on Friday dismissed the no-case submission filed by social activist Mr. Omoyele Sowore in the alleged cyberbullying case instituted against him by the Department of State Service, DSS. The court held that Mr. Sowore has a case to answer, noting that the prosecution had established a prima facie case against him. Justice Umar stated that evidence before the court showed that the defendant used his social media to make the post referenced by the prosecution witness.
Social activist Mr. Omoyele Sowore and his legal team are the Federal High Court Abuja for the ruling on his no-case submission in the case of alleged cyberbullying of President Bola Tinubu brought against him by the Department of State Service. He mingles with friends and lawyers ahead of the ruling. At the commencement of the ruling, the trial judge, Justice Muhammad Umar, held that at the stage of no-case submission, the court looks at the weight of evidence tendered before it and not at the credibility of the witness, as the trial is not concluded. He further held that it will help the court if the case is not terminated at this point. Justice Umar subsequently ordered Mr. Sowore to enter his defense. In the same vein, the prosecuting counsel, Mr. Kehinde Akinlolu, relied on Section 396, subsection 6 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act to ask the court for the defendant to enter his defense immediately. Reacting to the ruling, Mr. Sowore, through his counsel, sought the permission of the judge to address him, which was granted by the court. He told Justice Umar that he's not confident that he'll get justice from the court and asked the judge to recuse himself from the trial. He alleged that the judge was playing along with the federal government to convict him and to prevent him from contesting the 2027 general election.
His counsel, Mr. Marshal Abubakar, also shared this position, who pointedly told the judge of favoring the federal government in the conduct of the trial. Mr. Abubakar asked the judge to return the case file to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court for reassignment. In a brief ruling, Justice Umar ordered Mr. Sowore to file a formal application for recusal and state his grievances. The judge subsequently fixed May 19 for the defendant to open his defense and his application for recusal. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
And on the foreign scene, President Donald Trump announced a 3-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine following renewed tensions and accusations by both countries of violating separate truce agreements tied to celebrations marking the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirms Kiev's participation in the ceasefire, while Russian state media also reported Moscow's acceptance of the proposal. Earlier, President Putin declared a temporary ceasefire for May the 8th and the 9th ahead of Victory Day celebrations, while Ukraine had called for an indefinite truce beginning May the 6th. Russia also warned Ukraine against any attack on the Victory Day parade in Red Square, threatening a massive retaliatory missile strike on central Kiev if Moscow is targeted.
Our country is doing well. We just have new stock market records. Everybody's 401k is hitting a record. The numbers are absolutely incredible. The job numbers, we have more people working today than we ever had working in this country. The job numbers today were incredible. Russia, Ukraine, it's the worst thing since World War II in terms of life. 25,000 young soldiers every month. It's crazy. So it could very well be.
And that's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.